Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. Let's go ahead and talk about my reading plans for the month of October. And let's go ahead and start with some things I'm going to be carrying over from last month. And we'll start with God Killer by Hannah Kanner. I am super close to being done with this book. I'm filming this on October 1st, and I think I will probably end up finishing this either tonight or early tomorrow morning. So I will be knocking this one off my list very shortly. And I wish I could say the same thing for the next book, and that is book 4 of the Stormlight Archives, Rhythm of War. I did not make as much progress on this in the month of September as I would have liked, but I plan on knocking this out pretty early on in the month so that I can, spend some time on my spooky season reads, which is what I plan on talking about next. So I did ask about what books I should add on to my TBR for spooky season. I made a whole video about it and I got a lot of comments. I really appreciate, a lot of the suggestions and everything. And I think what I am going to decide is The Troop, for sure, I'm going to read this month. I got a lot of feedback and I think it's just one that I'll enjoy and it'll be a good time. I think I am still going to go ahead and have The Ring on my TBR, and I'm going to try and read that one as well. So those are going to be my two that I am going to do. I know I had only originally planned to do one, but I had a lot of fun with the horror stuff and it's not something I normally read. So I think it'll be interesting to try and incorporate that a little bit more. So The Troop and The Ring are going to be the two that I'm definitely going to read this month. And then I'm also considering, if I have time, which I probably won't, but if I'm really feeling the spooky, season kind of stuff, I might try and add one more in. I would think either Let the Right One In or Battle Royale are kind of the next two I'm really considering to read even more. So, it's a little bit of a mixed bag, but, October, spooky season, have some of that reviews come out around Halloween, get to talk about some of that stuff. I think it'll be a pretty fun time. So those are kind of the three I'm considering. Like I said, The Troop and The Ring, I will probably finish this month. I will definitely finish The Troop at least. I'm going to really try to plan on reading The Ring as well. And I'm being a little careful when I say that I'll finish both of them, because as usual, I always try to plan on reading more than I actually can, which is, I think, a good thing. I think it's always a good thing to have goals that make you stretch a little bit. Maybe I'll waste a little bit less time on my phone watching TV or something and spend a little extra time reading with that. With those being my two spooky season reads, I will also be adding in my next Cosmere read, which is The Lost Meadow by Brandon Sanderson. This will wrap up Era 2 of Mistborn. I'm really looking forward to this. I didn't realize it until I noticed that this would be the next Cosmere book I was supposed to read, that I kind of am really excited to see how this era, wraps up. I've liked all of the books. The first two, I thought were pretty good. I really enjoyed them, but they felt like they weren't on that epic scale that I've really come to expect from Sanderson. And then I really think the third book, Bands of the Morning, really opened up that world, and I was super interested in what was going on there. And so I've heard a lot of things that this book, The Lost Meadow, the last one, really incorporates a lot of the Cosmere stuff. And since I'm reading all of this Sanderson stuff with the idea of experience the Cosmere as a whole, I think that's maybe made me enjoy those aspects of it a little bit more. I could see why some people wouldn't like that. I can see why some people would like for them to be more standalone series with just kind of like those quick little recognizable things that if you've read it all, it's like a treat, where from what I've heard, it seems like it's really coming together and being a much more, important that everything that's going on in the Cosmere. Obviously, I don't know yet because I haven't read it, but I am very much looking forward to how that ends up. And just, I feel like there's going to be a lot of connections that at this point, with having read so much of the Cosmere, that I'm really starting to get a lot of it, even in Stormlight, with having read so much stuff. Like I'm seeing connections and everything. So getting this last puzzle piece that I think is going to be really big in The Lost Meadow, I think is going to be really exciting. But I think that's also a pretty long book, so once again, hopefully I can get around to finishing that. The next two books on my TBR, I think, are books that I plan on starting this month, but I really don't have any real expectation of me finishing them. It would be great if I could. They are both pretty long. Well, actually, one is shorter than the previous books in the series, but first up is The Return to Edan by fellow booktuber Philip Chase. Really liked the second book. I thought it was a really big improvement for the trilogy as a whole, and so I am very much excited to get around to this. Like I said, I don't think I'll finish it this month, but if I could, that'd be great. This will wrap up the trilogy, and I'm really curious on what's going to happen here, because I think I said in my review that I really feel like this probably could have been a duology, and obviously I think there's an action that happens at the very end of the Prophet of Edan, and I think it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with that character. It's a big change for that character, and I think it's going to be something that is going to be explored in a very interesting way. I have full faith in Philip at this point to deliver a pretty solid ending. And this is a pretty thick book. So I think there's going to be a lot of interesting things. I think there's going to be a lot of character growth and kind of like looking in on yourself as a person and some like real introspection that the character is going to go. And I think after the events of book 2, that's going to be something that these characters need, and I think it's going to make a lot of sense for those characters. So I am very much looking forward to at least starting the Return to Edan. And the last book that I'm hoping to start this month, and this has been a pretty constant on my channel, it is the 3rd book in the War of Light and Shadows series by Jenny Wirtz, and that is The War Host of Vastmark. I've actually really wanted to get back to this series, and I had planned on starting this last month and didn't get around to it because I wanted to read Godkiller, and I was going to read that in a physical edition, and I didn't want to have 2 physical books going on at the same time along with a couple audiobooks. It just was turning into reading too many books at once, and I wasn't going to be able to focus on any one enough. So now that I will be done with Godkiller, I want to get back to this world. It's a world that I have very slowly fallen in love with. It's a very different story. Well, the writing in particular is very different than anything I'm used to. And the more I read it, the more I enjoy it. And I think this world is beautifully crafted, and I am really starting to get attached to the characters and feel their struggle. And just, you know, they just feel very real and like, I don't know, I'm just really starting to feel for the characters. You know, I hear people talk about Robin Hobb a lot in her character writing, and I haven't read any Robin Hobb yet, so I can't speak to that, but that's kind of how I'm starting to feel about this. Even though we really are only following 2 main characters, you know, all of their actions and the things they're going through just feel real, and I understand them, and their struggle is immense. And then you have all this, there's also this political stuff that's going on in the background, and this is just a very, I mean, epic is the only word to use. This is a massive epic fantasy that I am glad I toughed through the first part of the 2nd book that I was not enjoying. I didn't really enjoy like the first 200 pages of the 2nd book, and then the ball really started rolling, and I'm pretty hooked now, so I am very much looking forward to that. But that is all I plan to read in the month of October. I hope I can finish it all. I know I won't be able to, but I like to set some you know, lofty goals for myself. Let me know about your October TBR. Are you reading any good horror things? Do you do that? Do you just kind of read whatever, whenever, and you don't like, you know, specify a month? I know for pretty much everything else I don't, but horror is kind of like the one thing I'm like, it's October, it's okay to reach out of my comfort zone and grab some horror. But let me know all of your reading plans in the comments down below, and as always, have a good one.